Day 9. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Harabhavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishabhai Om Shanti 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 Swaha. So we changed things around a little bit today. We maybe added a little bit more intensity in general. Did you notice that? Even the way I spoke, even the way I was guiding the practice, a little bit more intensity. By design. I wasn't angry at you, but I will be. So we started with our usual. Trying to establish foundation combination with relaxation. Everyone getting some of that dynamic somehow? Right, and then we asked for yet another level of another aspect to the meditation. Remember what it was? What was the techniques that we were engaging? Okay. Well, the first thing in that is that you need to put some energy into your spine. Okay, so nice stable foundation, right? Relaxation. If you only have those two things, you get some combination of that, right? What's the primary action there? Gravity, isn't it? Gravity's pulling you down. You're not putting any energy into the posture or the practice. Right? Maybe the mind is in a really good space, that's fine. But the yogis say, well, you're really going to try to combine the physical body with the meditation. So it is possible to do really good meditation with a hunchback, but it certainly helps things if you're able to sit up. But in order to sit up, you have to work a little bit against gravity. You have to engage some willpower, some intensity, and some lift. So that's the fire in the spine. There's other levels of fire in the spine that maybe we'll get to. But without some intensity and some presence, then the spine does start to slump. Right? And this is what you find when you sit for long enough and meditate, is that if your mind is distracted enough, then the spine will follow your distraction and collapse because you are off somewhere else. So one of the things that keeps you centered and present in the meditation is that you are powered up. That the neutral spine is powering the meditation. So what would you think would generally be the condition of the mind if I sat like this all the time? Yeah, dullness, heaviness, or at least mind is elsewhere. So the yogis realized that the position of the spine has tons and tons of effect on the condition of the mind, on the action of the mind. Body, mind, spirit, breath, everything's connected. You are one being with different layers. So doing something to the spine has an effect on energy and mind and emotions. Remember our basic neutral spine postures, right? Our lazy, our fearful, our protected spine, or our proud, egotistical, overconfident, or just misaligned, right? Proud chest kind of thing, right? Or right in the center, balance. Hopefully, nothing's guaranteed, obviously, but it's very rare to have a really shy person walking around with a very open chest and a lifted chin, isn't it? Oh yeah, I'm shy. Not so common. So they, of course, are in mutual connection. One affects the other. So Hatha Yoga trying to start at the most accessible thing that we have, which is the body. They say, okay, well, let's try to refine the spine so that then we can start to refine the consciousness. Which is a lot easier than just trying to go straight into the consciousness and affect everything from there. It's possible, but you have to be very, very clear and very, very powerful to do it that way. With Hatha Yoga, it's kind of cheating, isn't it? Just like, well, okay, let's make these movements, and actually through these movements and through these shapes, then we're going to start to have another deeper kind of effect. So it's, in a way, it's the long way, but it could be more sure of your effects. And it can be a bit scientific, right? You can really, the yogis discovered that, well, the neutral spine is the best expression of centeredness. The neutral spine is the best way to create a deeper kind of meditation. The neutral spine is the best way to create deeper levels of energetic circulation. So you need to practice as you sit, finding, discovering, playing with the different possible positions. And even when you find the basic lifted position, you start to find what you think is the center, then as you sit there longer, right, 10 minutes, 10 days, 10 years, 10 lifetimes, then you start to realize, actually, that's not the center, is it? Oh, maybe I'll back a little bit, maybe slightly left or right. Maybe the chin needs to drop 1/10 of 1 centimeter down. There's a lot more work to do. Because there's no formula, there's no exact perfect position that you can say will apply to everyone. Because what are you trying to do at the end of the day with the position of the spine? You're trying to affect the flow of energy and the state of consciousness. And you'll see this sometimes, right? Or this. Or many, many combinations. Trying too hard, not trying enough. It's difficult. So the more familiar you get with the flow of energy, the more familiar you get with the basic level of centeredness and balance, the more subtle things get. You sit for a while and you go deeper inside and you really start feeling what's going on, and you might realize, wow, I'm holding this whole set of unnecessary tension in my eyes, or my shoulders, or all of the above, or my brain, or somewhere else. And you start to learn more and more and more. Generally, that learning comes through spending more time in the neutral spine-centered position in stillness. That's where most of the real learning starts to happen. The yogis say, well, the asanas are nice, all the movements are nice, but at the end of the day, they can be very much a distraction. And this is what seems to have happened a lot in modern yoga, is that people have become obsessed by the physical shapes and conquering these physical shapes, but they have neglected what's actually really important, or at least why the postures were invented. So we did a little bit more observation practice. Never a bad thing to continue to observe and learn. So it's a pretty important thing to just stop making actions sometimes. Stop doing completely, which is impossible. But overall, right, obviously sitting is an action, meditating is an action. But as much as possible, suspend your effort to do things. Or at least once a day, hopefully you can just sit still and do nothing. That's what the Zen people call meditation. Sitting still, doing nothing. Because the less you do, the more you're faced with observation. The more you're able to see, because the more you're moving around, the more you're involved in all this constant change. And generally, the less aware you are. So the practice, or the part of us, which is a great thing, one of the great things about all this is that there are Sanskrit names for a lot of these things that English has no name for. I don't know about your native language, but probably not. Right, there's part of our mind, we were discussing this. But yes, the more you sit in stillness and observe, the more you realize, oh, there's stuff going on. Right? The thoughts are going on all sorts of levels. There's busyness going on all sorts of levels. Right? But there's also a part of us which, if we can make some connection with that, is the part of us which is behind or step back from all that and watch and just see it. Right? Instead of being involved, you're totally involved in your thoughts, you're lost in them. It's a pretty interesting exercise to sit down and just let your mind run. Maybe take 3 minutes. Sit down, let your mind run, and then come out of the meditation and start going back over the whole train of thoughts. Okay, what did I stop the meditation with? Okay, oh yeah, I was thinking of, the yellow leaves on this particular tree. Okay. Why did I think that? Oh yeah, because of this other tree that I saw that was like yellow trees, it was something else. And right, and then you start realizing that you just follow this entire flow of different thoughts, the one just flowing into another, often with no particular direction. But you were lost in them probably. Just totally absorbed, forgot you were even meditating, just thinking away. So, what's really important is to develop our ability to step back from that. In the middle of meditation, in the middle of being lost in your thoughts, and be like, wait a minute. I'm sitting here just thinking away, right? And if that's the case, one, you're not really meditating. And two, maybe it is, you're just better off doing something else. And sometimes it's true, right? If you sit down and meditate and you just cannot concentrate, there's just something bugging you, or it's, maybe something went weird with your relationship, or maybe there's just something you need to do, maybe you're worried about whether they're going to tow your car away, or right, whatever else it is, whether the dog needs to go out. And sometimes you're just so obsessed with that, and maybe it's actually something you have to take care of before you can meditate, before you can be quiet. Then just go ahead and take care of it. Sit up, or get up and go and do it. Because otherwise, it's just a waste of time. You're going to have to do it anyway. So when you develop the skill to be able to step back and look and watch yourself thinking, or watch yourself doing, this is called Shakshi. Right? Shakshi consciousness. Right? That's the part of you which is not involved in the thoughts. That's the part of you which can observe yourself thinking. Do you all know that part of yourself? I hope you visited at least your friends. And obviously, like anything, the more you practice making the connection, the more it will become a reality to you. And that's why I always ask you when we finish a meditation, before you just go straight on to the next thing and just erase the meditation, forget it, and do the next thing, stop and watch. Look at what you've done. Look at where you've been. Try to realize and step back a little bit from what you've been up to. And if possible, during the meditation, you should also be doing that. Right? And eventually, there'll be more energy, you'll have more connection with the Shakshi consciousness, the witness. Called the witness. Right. Witness, one who watches, one who sees, does not act. The more you can engage the Shakshi, the witness consciousness, the easier it will be to make connection when you need to. Generally, the more you practice a posture, the easier it will be to do it again. The more you perform any action, generally, the easier it will be to do again. So this is part of the consciousness of helping you know where you are. Part of helping you establish your current situation before you try to create any change. We all agree that it's probably best to check in and see what's going on in the present moment before you decide to do anything radical or make any changes? No? No? Don't agree? Oh, I just go ahead, it doesn't matter. Come what may, I say. Live and let live, I say. Ah, fuck it, I say. Right? Just do whatever comes into your pretty little head. Dangerous. Rock and roll. But dangerous. Right? Yogis, they try to plan for the future a little bit. Try to maybe think through action before making them. Try to establish the current situation before trying to initiate any change.
Would it be like intuition?
Yeah, I mean, you mean intuition, what? Being able to watch or being able to see the current situation?
Sometimes, yeah, like you see the situation and you just feel that's the right way.
Well, yeah, the action after you understand the situation, yes,
Yeah.
hopefully that's based on intuition, a mixture of intuition and intelligence. Or if your intuition's really good, then perfect. You don't need to even think about it, just do it. And all of us know what that is as well. Sometimes you just have this feeling like that's what needs to be done, you do it, and that is exactly the right thing you should have done. Right? But it can happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen. And sometimes we're hasty and we jump the gun, so to speak, right? We do things too quickly without assessing the situation. And then oftentimes that is not the correct action to take. Very difficult to know what's right.
Is it ever incorrect?
Is it ever incorrect? Yes. What if you harm another creature? What if you kill someone?
No, that's true. But like in a general sense, though, like if it's not damaging anyone.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're ready to live with the consequences, then yeah, you can do whatever you want. But you know, the more off-center it is, the more you're going to have to pay the price for it. So if you're willing to do that, just do whatever you like. But since life is basically comprised of many, many millions of actions, we want as much as possible our actions to keep us in a state of harmony instead of creating more and more conflict. Right? Regardless of any outside influence, which of course your actions always have outside influence, but we always have to basically deal with what we've created. You make your bed, you have to lay in it. That's what they say, and it's true. It's no better off to develop your ability to step back from the situation and try to see things with some clarity. Because when you're completely immersed in a thought pattern, you are deeply involved in that thought pattern. You have a personal investment in it. No problem with that. It's just who you are or what you're thinking about. But oftentimes, if that's the only thing you're basing your decisions on, then that can be a problem because you are biased. You have an agenda. You need a few perspectives generally to see things clearly, right? They say, what's the best way to win an argument?
Kill the other person.
Exactly. Step into your opponent's shoes and try to figure out exactly what they're going to say, right? When you make your argument, what is your opponent going to say? So instead, you've looked at the opposite, another opinion, another perspective. So in a way, the Shakshi witness helps us just to get a different perspective on things. And until you're fully enlightened consciousness, you will still be a little bit biased, but at least maybe you'll be a few steps away from the investment in that. Does this make sense? You don't need to understand it so much with the mind because we have practices that are going to help you experience it. So, if you don't know what I'm talking about now, don't worry. We will be working into more connection with this as we go. Simple way to practice Shakti. Just follow your breath. Watch the breath come in. Watch the breath go out. Then watch the breath come in, and watch the breath go out. And watch the breath come in, and watch the breath go out. Practicing non-attachment, practicing non-action. And that might make some people totally bonkers. Right? They want to do something. Well, I might as well do deeper breathing since I'm here. Right? Maybe. But maybe they don't realize how important it is to just practice observation. Very important in a yoga teacher. Trying to see students and situations for what they are instead of projecting your feelings and opinions upon them. And, it depends on how pulled you are by certain forces, but, maybe if you have a class full of people, and there's one or two people that you're like, they're nice, I like that, whatever. And other people like, what a horrible, stinky, hairy freak. Right? Chances are, you will gravitate towards the one you prefer. Unless you have a good hold of yourself and okay, I'm going to treat everyone equally. I'm going to try to see everyone for what they are without my opinions getting in the way, my bias getting in the way. Does that make sense? It's pretty important because if you're really serious about helping people learn, then sometimes the people you dislike the most, you need the lessons the most. So it might be that, and we've tried it a few times, that you sit and start to follow the breath. How many breaths can you string together in one attention span without a thought?
Just say you manage more than 4 years in life.
Yeah, 4 would be amazing. I would love that. Right? Okay, best intentions, starting the meditation. Inhale, exhale. Oh yeah, inhale, inhale, exhale. Wow. My leg kind of hurts. I'm really excited for breakfast. I wonder what will blah, 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 blah. All right? Oh yeah. Inhale, exhale. Yeah? The general map of your mind. So we got what? We got about a breath and a quarter. So that's pretty close to enlightenment actually. If the 4 is enlightened, 1.25 is not bad. So that's more than a quarter of the way, 25% towards enlightenment. So there's a motivation to practice harder. Right? Not ideal, but you should at least know yourself well enough. Right? And you might string a breath or two together and quite peacefully and then get distracted and then remember, oh yeah, I'm watching the breath, and come back. What to do? It's just, it depends, the quality of your meditation depends on how long this goes on for, how long your blah 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 goes on for. Your chitta vritti, right? Your distracted, busy, moving mind. Right? Fewer chitta vrittis. Watch inhale come in, watch exhale go out. Watch inhale come in, watch exhale go out. Watching part of an exhalation come in, thinking of something else for 6 minutes, and then coming back and watching another half breath, and then thinking something else again. Not ideal. Quite common.
Isn't there like a middle ground that you can actually observe all that activity happening without
Yeah.
getting involved in it?
Yeah. And that's what you're trying to develop, is that's sort of active force in you, even when you do get thoughts going on. So you realize, because that's always there, it's not like it goes away. It's just a question of how awake it is. I had a really annoying incident that when I was in India and with my guru, oftentimes I'd come around sunset for puja, right, for our ritual, and we do our mantras. And part of the ritual was we'd smoke a big chillum first, right? Smoke a bunch of hash. It's just the way my teacher was, so. Right? It's definitely harder to keep your stuff together if you're really stoned, right? It's just, it's extra, they love a challenge, so that's one of the challenges. So, so there's that, smoke the chillum, start the puja, right? Puja's all in Sanskrit and Hindi. And it's from this book. So we're sitting there. It's quite a strange setting anyway. Right? Quite outside of my normal life and experience. So here we go, a book full of mantras. So you'd think, in that situation, that I'd have to be pretty on it to do all the mantras correctly, right? So midway through one of these sessions, we were doing the mantras. I hadn't made a single mistake. Everything was fine. But I realized that I had been thinking the entire time. So the mouth was doing the mantras. I was sitting there. And still the mind was off somewhere else. Really annoying. Right? In a situation where you'd think you'd have to have presence and it would be quite difficult to keep it together, somehow I was still on autopilot. A lot of more work to do. What else do I need to do to force myself into the moment? I'm not sure. More practice, I suppose.
I mean, I feel like a lot of it is practicing letting go, but then that seems really counterintuitive to me.
Letting.
Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, we're all quite obsessed with certain things, like we have patterns of thought, and I guess we're thinking those because we think they're important. And the more important we think they are, the more energy we put into thinking them. So I suppose part of it is you have to decide whether actually that is so important that you put so much energy into thinking them. Or maybe not. So we also up the intensity a bit of the breath practice, right? Slowly, slowly. Giving you lots of space to spread out in your swara cycles. Yeah? Everyone exploring those and feeling okay with the basics? We'll explain the swara cycles in more detail quite soon. No, I meant to. But we didn't. No, just didn't get around to it. Alright, so the basic flow of our breath. Alright, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So we've got a certain, once you get into the rhythm, you got a certain range, don't you? You inhale and you exhale, and basically you keep your flow more or less at that level of intensity, yeah? Swara cycles are such that they're not supposed to change a lot over time. Same thing over and over and over. Why might that be useful to our practice and existence? Exactly. Helps us go into silence. Okay? So, remember, yoga chittavritti nirodha. We're trying to, even if we can't stop the flow of thoughts and enter the complete, infinite, silent void, most of us, at least we're going to try to smooth things out, even out the energy. So part of what swara cycles are trying to do is just create a situation of steadiness. So the less things change, the more you're going to be able to step back from things and use your Shakshi witness consciousness and just observe. Yeah? The quicker things change, constant change, the more the mind has to be engaged and deal with the changes. Yeah? The less things change, the more the mind can just relax and start to watch. Okay. The mind can settle down. Body's got something to do. Breath is doing its thing, which hopefully can satisfy the mind to some degree. Yeah? A bit investment in evenness, which is lovely. And for a lot of people, just the general basic swara cycle flow is going to do a huge amount of good. It's a technique I use in almost every class. I can't stop myself anymore from teaching some swara cycles and getting that flow going in the class before I start anything more difficult or complicated. Because to me, I'd rather see and rather invest some time in a good, steady, stabilizing breath than chasing after some crazy physical shapes. The physical shapes will come after the breath stabilizes. But to me, it's backwards to try to do crazy stuff with the body, and then maybe, hopefully, we can take a few good breaths. Maybe not. Who cares? That's craziness to me. I want to invest in the most important things and let the other things happen or not happen. Who cares? To me, the breath is the most important thing. To you, the breath is the most important thing. How long can you live without drinking water? Yeah, depends. I mean, quite a good while till your kidneys shut down and everything else. Your brain dries up into a prune. How long can you live without eating? Depends on how much padding you have, but that's another thing entirely, yeah. But yes, I have met people like that. But general, normal people, you can live without eating, maybe a few weeks. It's going to be unpleasant, especially around here with green curry. How long can you live without breathing? Normal people. Yeah. What, like 3 minutes of complete cutoff is the beginning of brain deterioration, and then not much more time than that. Once the brain loses its supply of oxygen, that's the end of it. Yeah. So if you think about it, your most vital process in your being is breathing. So why wouldn't you put some extra energy into developing that? Right? Instead of worrying about whether you're doing this posture or that posture. Right? Prioritize. Because what does breathing do for you? Yeah, on a scientific level, of course, inhalation brings in, right, oxygen, right, O2. Exhalation breathes out carbon dioxide. CO2. Yes? So oxygen coming in. What is it basically supposed to do? Okay. Okay. One step less than basically, a little bit more specifically. Oxygen comes in. It's fed into the blood, isn't it? Right, absorbed into the blood and then carried to the various places around your body, the various tissues that need oxygen to survive, yeah, to repair themselves, to live, right? And then also the waste is transported out of the cells and then through your out breath, carbon dioxide out, yeah? So it's an exchange. Once your cells are deprived of oxygen, right, you'll start to break down. Parts of you will start to shut down. And the more oxygen you're deprived of, the more of you will start to shut down till eventually, right, the most vital functions will shut down because they just are not being fed with oxygen. Okay? Not ideal. So, if you can breathe deeply and well, on just a basic physiological scientific level, you'll be feeding your body with more oxygen. There will be more oxygenated blood in you. If you're breathing well, then there'll be more waste disposal through your exhalation. So your whole being will be fed with more energy. Seems to make fairly sound sense, doesn't it? But unfortunately, most people's dynamics of breath in and out is not ideal, right? They're not actually feeding themselves the energy that they could be feeding themselves because of bad breathing patterns. They're feeding themselves in other ways. Oftentimes people will overfeed themselves with food to compensate for the fact that they're not breathing properly. And this is one of the things that happens when you get magic powers and you master the art of breath. You no longer need to eat, or you need to eat a lot less. And the yogis, they say that you're really making progress when the amount of food you need starts to go down. You just don't need as much food to survive. It's not like you're losing weight and becoming a living skeleton. You're still healthy and vibrant, in fact more so. But you just don't need as much food. because of the fact that your breathing is so good. But the yogis don't use oxygen and carbon dioxide. They didn't know what that was. There was no such thing back then. It's just an invention. It's just a categorization by science. But it helps some people understand the world this way. It's fine. So once we get our basic flow of swara going, we're starting to even out, create a regular pattern of intake, right? Inhalation and exhalation, right? We're starting to create an evenness. So the breath comes in and goes out more evenly. Already, the body responds very well to that. The body responds very, very well to patterns, right? To regular habits, regularity. The body likes that. The body does not like continual, constant change and surprise. The body does not like changes in the breath all the time. One breath long, another breath medium, another breath short, another breath kind of medium, another breath sort of short. Wait a bit, okay, another one, right? Not good response. The body sort of is a constant state of panic to try to figure out what's going to happen next. Yeah, so the simple act of creating swara cycles and regular steady breathing already has a massive effect on health, on happiness, on energy levels, on all the functions of the body, on brain activity, on the activity of your glands, on the pumping of your blood, on your immune system, on your nervous. Everything is affected by breath and the regularity and the nature of the breath. So the nature of your breath is probably oftentimes very much like the nature of your thoughts, because breath and thoughts are intimately connected. What happens when you get really emotionally upset? What happens to your breath? Yeah? Not exactly a good breathing pattern, is it? No. Because your emotions have upset your breathing pattern, and then that breathing pattern, of course, and the reaction of everything else to your emotions disrupts your entire being, right? Maybe the heart beats faster, maybe strange salty water comes out of your eyes and your nose, right? Maybe you're trembling or shaking or whatever, right? You have a massive reaction, right? Same thing, fear, anger, all these emotions which we won't call them bad, but are bad. At least disruptive to your harmony. It happens, we're all human. But those emotions disrupt the breath. And by the same token, the breath can disrupt the emotions. If your breathing patterns are unstable, erratic, shallow, right, or whatever else, your emotions are also going to be affected. Your emotions are also going to follow suit. So if it's your aim in life to be emotionally unstable, then I suggest you destabilize your breath. But it's not very nice, right? So the two are very, very intimately connected. Mind, same thing. If your mind is agitated, your breath will probably also be agitated. If your breath is agitated, your mind will be agitated. They're deeply connected. So fortunately with Hatha Yoga, when they just try to do the simplest thing possible to have the deepest effect possible, they think, well, instead of trying to control the mind and the emotions, which is quite difficult, let's just go the other way and try to control the breath. Much easier, isn't it? Right? Okay, sit down and control every thought you have for the next 25 minutes. Right? 25 seconds later, you've already had like 25,000 thoughts. You're in floods of tears, etc. Right? Instead, it's actually fairly simple to train yourself to be able to breathe in a steady way for 25 minutes. We do that every day now. It's not that difficult. And slowly, that is going to start to have a huge effect on the way your mind works, the way your emotions behave, the way your body works as well. Source, breath, source, the cause of pretty much everything, the nature of your breath. If you're going to go to the source of anything, to the cause of most things that happen within you, the breath is it. What do they call breath in yoga? Right. The essence of breath is prana. You break down the word prana. Basically, you get pra and na, right? It basically means with movement. So the prana is a manifestation of the active principle in the universe. The force of energy, the force of movement, the force of change, the force of life. So they say in at least in the yogic worldview, universal view, that you've only got two things that are actually one. And there is no difference. But if you're going to divide things up into artificial categories, you've got energy and you've got stillness. Right? You've got yang and yin. And they're inseparable, but they're distinct forces as well. And you can interact with them. And so the essence of energy is prana. The essence of prana is movement. Energy never stops moving. Energy is in constant flux and change and vibration. And modern science recognizes that fact. All molecules are in a state of vibration. All atoms are in a state of vibration, and I think they actually categorize the molecules by the rate of vibration? Scientists? Yeah, don't they? Alright, so the universe is made up of this dynamic of stillness and movement between space and form. So strangely enough, as I think we've said before, everything that we think is solid is actually in constant change, in a state of disintegration and transformation. And everything that and the only stable thing around us is that which doesn't exist. The spaces between things. Once again, modern science supports this theory. But the idea is really that the material world is in a constant state of flux, right? Chitta vritti, right? Vritti, movement, flow. Right, so it's really the essence of energy, isn't it? Prana. Once again, English words not doing justice to the real essence of the word, prana. Oftentimes, it's better just to say chi, because that, at least it's closer. It's a Japanese word, isn't it? Chinese word? Chinese word. So, in order to survive and hopefully thrive, we need source of prana. We must have prana. We are made of prana. The notebook's made of prana. The whiteboard's made of prana. The fans are made of prana, right? Essence is energy. Form is energy. Energy is vibration. Vibration is change. And fluctuation. Right, so in order for us to exist, we need to have a constant interaction with prana. That is our life force. They say when prana leaves the body, life leaves the body. When there's no more prana in your body, you're dead. You're finished. Time for you to disintegrate, and time for whatever is more lasting within you to move on to the next incarnation or manifestation. But at least our physical being is built on energy and prana. And so the yogis say, well, okay, this is what we've got, and we might as well try our best that we can to maintain the physical body, cultivate the prana, and hopefully let the body last as long as possible so we can do our work, do what we need to do in this life. Fix the messes we've made, and then try to move beyond them. So they discovered that, okay, well, if we're going to try to live longer, then we better do the best we can with our prana, with our life force. We better learn how to use it, how to work with it, how to increase it, and also how to decrease it in ways. So they invented Hatha Yoga. So they invented the system of physical movements, breaths, meditations, purifications, etc., to help us to deal with our prana, to give us tools to play with prana. Number one tool, breathing. But everything you do has an effect on your prana. Sometimes decreasing your personal energy, sometimes increasing. Right? In some postures you think that that's it, the prana is going to go out of the body, you're going to die. Right? It hurts that much. Chances are it won't happen. Sometimes it does.
Has anyone ever died in a yoga posture?
Yeah, they try to die in a yoga posture. The old yogis.
Yeah.
For real. For real. Because the old yogis, when they are so connected with their own personal life force that they know when they're going to die. Sometimes to the minute. Right? It's not a myth, it's real. Right? So that's part of being yogis. The more and more and more you know about your own personal prana, the more you'll know when it's starting to go down, old age or whatever, time's coming. You just know. So part of the yogic work is preparing for your own death. I know you all, since you're young and full of energy, you don't think much about that, but eventually you've got to consider it. And the old yogis, they would know when they're going to die. So they would prepare themselves. Right? Hopefully take a bath, put on their best clothes. And they would go and they knew the time was coming, so they'd go and they'd sit in their meditation posture. They would enter into meditation and they would consciously leave. Not just, clinging to life. Oh, I don't want to die, don't make me die, don't. Right? The yogis don't do that. They've accepted death. They know it's a reality. They know that the prana must end in this body at some stage. They've accepted that already, and oftentimes or sometimes they know when it's going to happen, so, okay, the time is coming. And a lot of times everyone around them's like, no, Baba, no, we need you. The time is finished. Right? So they exit the body. The body's in usually lotus posture. Maybe they take one deep breath, one long exhalation.
Don't they often stay because their posture is so stable that I've seen films of Buddhist monks who, the time is coming, and because their spine is so well aligned, it's just...
Yeah, they don't, it's not like, No, they just stay there. And they'll usually bury them this way as well. They don't even bother taking them out or anything, lay them down flat, just
Little yogi shaped.
Yeah, they'll bury them underground in caves, and they just keep meditating. Yeah, and supposedly the bodies don't decay very quickly either. They don't smell. Right? They're in a way they've perfected their prana. Believe it if you want, but it's true.
So a lot of these yogis, even if they've got a physical illness, they don't try to fight it. They just, if they get like a terminal disease, for them is the cue. It's not time to go.
Yeah, oftentimes, because the body's got to go somehow,
Yeah.
and they'll say that sometimes those are karmas that they just couldn't fix in this
Right.
lifetime that finally have come and be like, it's time for you to pay this price. So everything that happens within you has its source in prana. Your thoughts, your actions, your feelings, your life, all has a source in prana. All of our postures that we do, all the breath meditations, all the mind meditations, all of the mantras have to do with a type of prana. What we do, right, takes some prana and might give some prana. And sometimes what we do, it's just spending basically. Some things don't give back much prana. Other things we do less, we get more. And this is one of the things we're trying to do in yoga. Get more out of less. Spend less energy, get more energy. That's why I said we're trying to do sustainable yoga. If we arrive at the end of the yoga workshop and we're all absolutely destroyed, we have spent more prana than we had. That's not yoga, that's idiocy. Right? It's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy. That's not yoga. Right? That's just doing something crazy, spend, and this is, at least being from America, I know what debt is. Right? People spend more than they have. That's what they seem like, they seem to think that they can get away with it. And last year, 2008, they realized they couldn't get away with it. Right? The whole thing collapsed, or a lot of it collapsed, because people spent more than they had. And that's what they do with their own life force as well, strangely. They overspend. And then what? You're either exhausted, or you die early, or your quality of life goes down, or your emotions fall apart, or your body falls apart, or whatever. I don't want that. You know when I was born? 1737. Isn't that amazing? Watch the levitation of this sheet. Okay. Powers are slightly lower than before. Right? But, so, it's really important to think of yoga practice in terms of prana. How to spend, how to earn. Right? What does my guru say? It's bank balance. Bank balance, hey? Right? Do you have bank balance? Do you have positive bank balance or negative bank balance? Are you spending more than you earn? On every level. Money is prana. Right? Prana is prana. Right? Yoga spends and yoga earns. A lot of people, they spend a lot of energy in yoga, but they don't get anything back. Year after year goes by, they start to look really, really weird. I know people who've done some very intense yoga, but after 25, 30 years of that, all they look like is a sack of bones and skin. Lots of prana spent, not really that much gotten back.
What about breatharians? Have you met people that, are they like skin and bone?
If they are, they're doing it wrong. Right? You cannot decide you're going to live on prana. It can only happen. Right? You can't be like, oh, I'm just going to live on air now. I'm going to stop eating. It's not going to work. Guess what's going to happen? One, you're going to get hungry. Then you're going to get skinny. Then you're going to get sick. And then you're either going to eat or die. Right? You cannot decide that. You can do it. It can be done, but you have to perfect your prana. You have to be able to absorb so much prana from your environment that food is a waste of energy to eat. You don't need it. You get so much power anyway. But that takes, for most people, years and years of yogic discipline, meditation, and work. You can't just think that that's what you want to do because, I don't even want to pay for food anymore, it's too expensive. Right? And my friend did that. She's like, my brother was a breatharian. I'm like, oh really, what happened? She's like, oh, he got really skinny and then he got sick and then he ate. Yeah, exactly. Right? But so one time a guy showed up here, a yogi showed up from India here. And he was called the Sun Yogi. And he had been taught a secret technique by his guru, which then he taught all of us. It had to do with the meditation on the sun and absorbing the techniques to absorb the power of the sun, the prana of the sun, right? Which is, it's a lot of prana in the sun, wouldn't you say? Without the prana of the sun, this life on this planet would be dull, to say the least, right? Non-existent, right? This planet exists because of the prana of the sun, doesn't it? Yes, and the moon. Don't forget. He was quite tan, but that might have been his South Indian heritage. But yeah, his meditation was he would sit dawn, dusk, and noon. Obviously not midnight. Why?
3 meals a day?
Yeah, exactly. He's got 3 meals a day of prana from the sun. Never ate food. He had people with him 24 hours a day. He wasn't cheating. He wasn't pretending like he could do it. He just didn't eat. No need. His meditation was so deep that when he sat in his meditation in front of the sun and absorbed the power of the sun, that was more than enough prana for him. Pretty impressive.
Did he drink water?
Oh, he didn't need to.
Really?
It's just once you get to a certain level of pranic purity, the rules change. They just don't have to follow the same rules as we do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like a. Yeah, something's conserved. Like you don't have this in out cycle anymore, or at least it's much smaller. I mean, obviously he'll die at some stage, but the whole get food in, get waste out kind of thing didn't matter. He didn't need to breathe sometimes. Right? He could suspend his breath for long periods of time. He could suspend his heart for long periods of time. And we proved it. It was quite funny. He's decided to do a demonstration for us. Not out of pride. It's just like, I just want to show you what's possible. So he sat on the beach. And tons of people gathered around. We had 2 doctors and a registered nurse there. And so he sat in his meditation. He's like, sits into his meditation. Does a few of this and that inside. And then he goes, okay. And so they took his pulse. 3 different people took his pulse. No pulse. The heart was not beating. And he was still talking, which I thought was like, that's a cool power. You'd think like he'd have to be in a state of like deep meditation, and no, he was still like, yeah, okay, now you can measure the pulse. Pulse? And they're like, nope. Michael from the sanctuary that managed the sanctuary. He was there. He felt it. No pulse. Right? Of course, in our experience, in most people's experience, that is not possible. But this is yoga, right? They have secrets that we do not have, right? They know things about energy and life and the universe that we just don't have access to yet. But they are real. You don't know what you're capable of. You're capable of amazing possible things. Don't cut yourself short. Like, oh, that's not possible. Well, then, oh yeah, probably for you then it won't be. You open your mind a little bit, many, many more things will be possible. You just allow the possibility of possible to be possible. possible. Just a little belief, just maybe it's possible. Just a little, just a drop. So, to me, yoga is nothing but managing your prana. Because it's true. Because life is nothing but, in a way, managing your prana. Right? How are you going to get fed? How are you going to sleep? How are you going to breathe? How are you going to talk? How are you going to move around this world? What are you going to do? It's all prana. Every single thing is prana. And everything, every one of your choices is, in a way, a choice of how you're going to manage your prana and life force and your existence.
It becomes quite interesting when you shift focus from trying to eat and get material things and money.
Mm-hmm.
I usually think they exchange your work for money, and then think about it in terms of prana and stuff. Kind of shifts the whole way you relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think like making your decisions and where you're coming from within yourself and making those choices. Like what I said before about not being able to make the wrong choice. If you come from your heart and good intentions in each choice that you make, even if something bad happens because of it, you can still make the most of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
Just surrendering to whatever comes your way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I mean, trying to be in the flow instead of resisting, it's very, in a way also yoga is just trying to immerse ourselves in the flow of the universe. Because if we're in harmony with that flow, then we get prana and we can have good lives. And if we're in conflict, then that's going to be agitation, pain, suffering, conflict, etc.
It's a really good, not theory, it's a really good measure to make decisions about your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Will this enhance,
Yeah.
Not in a selfish way, but like, is this going to be a waste of my energy? Is this going to be a waste of my time? Is this going to hurt me or hurt someone else? And it's also part of the sort of yogic decision-making process. That basically you can count on the fact that if your actions will not harm others and your intentions are good, chances are that's going to be more beneficial to your prana than if I do things that are selfish, that just involve me. Well, I want to get that, but it's going to be at your expense, right? Or what I do because I want something hurts someone else or many other people or other creatures. That's not going to result in anything positive in the long run. You might think you get, it's exchanging sort of the long-term benefits for short-term.
Is it possible to gather prana by conducting a service for others? Because I find moments when, I've really been able to help somebody in a genuine way, there's definite energy for
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
That's what-
Karma yoga.
Oh,
This
well,
is karma yoga. Selflessly giving your prana for the benefit of other creatures. This is good action. Balachakya. Right? This is selfless service. Right? Karma yoga. Right? The bodhisattva vow.
How does that work as far as like an exchange of prana?
Because we are interconnected. If you see that everything is like one, so if you give something, of course there has to be, because you give something, there has to come
Yeah,
something back.
exactly.
So give, think the chance that you give it to get something back.
Yeah.
Okay.
5 rupees or whatever, right? But I mean, some people, they take karma yoga so seriously that they give their entire life force and prana to the service of others, and they don't care about themselves. They're like, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to give everything I have until I just can't go over, and that's the end of it. Right? So they're not nearly as concerned about their own life and living well and thriving and living as long as possible and getting this and getting that. That's full giving.
But also like raising your own prana and your own vibration. You don't have to do anything, but people around you will also do things like that.
Yeah.
You walk into certain rooms and there's like a bunch of angry workers. They're looking like,
Yeah.
that's a bit. So just
Yeah.
taking care of yourself and helping others.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, they said that the Buddha's prana was so powerful, right? His aura, The extension of his energy and consciousness outside of his body was 60 miles. So that anyone that came within 60 miles of the Buddha when he was alive would feel a change and shift in vibration because his prana was so strong. In the Far Eastern tradition, sometimes you see the Buddha pictured as really fat. And you think most people think well, Buddha, fat? What a glutton. Why would he eat so much? Why would he get so fat? It's not because he ate so much, right? It's because he's full of prana. That's prana. Right? It's not greed. It's not just that he's absolutely addicted to deep fried pork skins. Right? That's a symbol of the great, huge, massive prana of the Buddha. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Same thing with location around the planet.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is prana. Everything. Some places you can feel are really dark and twisted. Either because of what humans have done there, or because of just a basic general type of energy on the planet that somehow has some conflicting something there. It's just what it is. Right? Other places, you go there and instantly you feel,
It's funny you
wow.
change from Hadrin to here.
Yeah. Evil, dark, and awful. Excellent, amazing, fantastic. I don't know if that's caused by the people or what, but and that's why there are holy places on this earth. Some places are extra powerful, and you go there and you actually gain prana just by being there. Special places, holy springs and wells, right? Waterfalls, places of great natural beauty, many places. Hatian. Right? Why is one of the reasons why this place is so strong? There's crystals in the rocks. There's quartz crystals. The rocks are made, looks like 50% or more, sometimes 70 to 80% quartz crystal. That's why they cut the shit out of your feet when you walk on them, because they're so sharp. Right? You're walking on crystals. Right? It creates energy. So yes, prana in different flows on the earth, different flows within us, different flows in groups, different flows in cities, right? It's all around you. And one of the things that we're trying to do in yoga is just educate ourselves on the nature of energy. And one of the best ways to do it is to learn about our own prana and how we can play with it and what it does and how it works and how it moves, and then your awareness starts to open to a larger thing, to a larger scope of prana outside yourself. Not outside, obviously, but beyond just yourself. Right, so when we start to do our swara cycles, but we're asking for, so we're still only talking about the first 10 minutes of the class. When we start to intensify the depth of the breath, that is your simplest way to start to gather more prana. Right, inhalation deeper, exhalation deeper. Yeah? Makes sense? If you do it well. Obviously, inhaling with tension and strain and internal conflict is not going to grant you good prana. Ow. You have to gather prana gently, intelligently, but powerfully. Strangely, you can't try too hard. If you try too hard, you'll ruin it. Anyone read Of Mice and Men? Steinbeck? What did Lemmy's from Motorhead, right? Lenny do to the puppy? He loved it so much he squeezed it to death. Right? Remember? Very sad. He didn't mean to, but he didn't know any better. Remember? It's a very sad part of the book. It gets sadder, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Steinbeck.
Yeah, it's amazing. Steinbeck, everything Steinbeck wrote is amazing, but that's...
Steinbeck tattoo.
Is it?
Yeah. Tim Shaw.
From
East of Eden.
East of Eden. High five. You're the coolest. See how prana was exchanging there? High five. Strange. Right? So yeah, it's a delicate art, right? It's you learn about prana and you start to understand more and more about how to play with it in yourself. And this is one of the reasons they say, well, you can never teach yoga until you have a really good practice on your own, because you're not going to know a damn thing about prana until you have your own practice. That's why. Not because, well, I didn't read enough books. Right? Teaching good yoga means you have a very deep understanding of prana, of energy, and how to play with it, manipulate it, change it, move it, stabilize it, and then help other people to do the same. That's why, to me, I'm always trying to give you tons of choice of how you're going to guide yourself in your practice. Because no two people really are going to be able to guide their prana in the same way and benefit in the same way. So unfortunately, the burden is on you to guide yourself. We're working together and trying to learn as much as we can about how to do that, but the choices are ultimately yours. We can't be blamed 100%. Right? Sometimes we make bad choices too, or sometimes we choose postures, you're like, no way, man, not me. I'm not doing that. I can't do that. Maybe it's just bad for you, maybe you can't do it yet. Part of the training also in the yoga is gradually developing the flow of your prana so that you're able to do more. You're able to do things more powerfully and gain the benefits from them. Okay? And this has to do a lot with the postures and the breathing. Is that as you progress, and that's one of the reasons why we try to progress in the practice, right? We try to do deeper postures, more intense things. Because you can get more prana from stronger things in a shorter time than you can from lighter things done for a longer time, generally. If you want to argue with me about that, that's fine. Different ways of cultivation. Right? But certainly if you know how to take great advantage of something that has greater intensity, you're going to have a greater effect from that. Yeah? That's why there is such thing as progress in the postures, and there is a reason why you would strive to do things that are more difficult and keep your cool while you do it. That's why today, I try to bump up the intensity a little bit, try to do things a little bit more strongly. I know we've been taking it fairly easy, but even though we've been taking it easy, a lot of people have been tired anyway. Right? It's not a problem. But you can imagine what if we did this kind of intensity of practice every day so far, 2 classes a day, up to this point, what would you be like? You'd be dead, yeah. Some people would be like, yes, this is exactly what, right? But we're being a little bit more cautious. We're trying to gradually build up prana. So we wanted you to understand how to, more or less, how we'd like you to conduct yourselves and your breath and your practice and your postures. And then once we have that sort of common understanding, then we start to bring intensity up if you want. Not everyone took the challenge. Some people just don't. It probably did not serve their prana to do something intense today. No problem. I'd rather have you know that than just follow along blindly. But you have to step up to the challenge as well. So if you don't make an effort, you don't push a little bit, right, you get what you give. So, Hatha Yoga, intense, right? Hatha means intense, so powerful, painful. So part of it is difficult, part of it is intense. And ultimately, so hopefully we haven't talked so much about it yet, but there are different levels and layers of your being. And each of them has a type of prana. But obviously they're all sharing in a way that a single prana that is you. But a lot of times, as you probably already know, different levels of you are operating at some different frequencies and sometimes in opposition. So part of what we're trying to do is harmonize prana on as many levels of our being as possible. So that physical body harmonizes with breathing, which harmonizes with mind, with emotions, spirit, etc. Yeah? Yoga, unity, pranic unity, joining things together. When your different levels and layers of your prana are not in balance or not in harmony, then you're going to have either internal conflict, discomfort, right? Anger, frustration, disease, whatever. So ultimately we're trying to work on different levels. Right? We're trying to understand our minds, we're trying to understand our breath, we're trying to understand the body, we're trying to understand so many things. And then slowly we're going to understand, we use the Shakshi, we look for a little while, okay, now I see. Okay. Now sometimes you realize the breath is erratic sometimes, or not. And then when you know that, then you start to move the knobs a little bit, change the settings, so that you are gradually balancing yourself into a state of unified harmony. It's worth a try.